Hey, everyone. Welcome to the next series of Defying the Odds. As you all know, I am Crystal Ward and I am filling in. I am the founder of Greater Than Expectations, and I am filling in today for our lovely host, Tiana Barnwell, in her absence. I am super excited to bring to the stage LeChelle Simpson. And so I am going to introduce or bring her up now. Good evening, LeChelle. How are you?
I am blessed. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes. So super excited to have you this evening. Can you just give us a little bit about yourself? As you know, Defying the Odds is a series that we do for foster alum, and we talk about how they defy the odds or overcome some of the statistics. And so I know we'll get into your history of what you're currently doing and things of that nature, but who is LeChelle?
So, I am a former foster alum, and that means that I did grow up in the foster care system. I believe that I started being placed in the system at the age of about 3.5, 4 years old. Both of my parents struggled with addiction. My mother struggled with drugs for over 40 plus years, and my father was an alcoholic.
Mm.
And so there was a almost near death situation that occurred with one of my younger siblings. And that was the reason why me and my siblings at the time, I think it was about seven, it's like 9 or 10 of us now,
Mhm.
was brought into care. So, like a lot of other young people, I was in shelters, different foster homes. I was at a point in time from like the age of 4 to about, I want to say maybe 9 or 10. I was living with family, and that didn't work out, unfortunately. And then I ended up in different foster care homes until I landed with a family in Grandview, Missouri.
Okay.
From yes, from the age of 10 until I graduated high school at the age of 18. So, yes, that is my story. And I actually do have experience with working with former foster youth. So,
Yeah, so let's get into that. So thank you for sharing that bit with us. So you experienced kinship care, which is staying with
yeah,
family, but then of course, and we don't have to go necessarily into the details unless you want to. Sometimes, your grandma might take you in or your sister or a cousin, but then they realize this might be too much. And so young adults have to go into the actual foster care system. But you landed in Grandview, which or you said you had several siblings, and then how you said that you now currently work, or you've had the opportunity to work with those that have been a part of the system. So one way that LeChelle has been able to defy the odds is you received your bachelor's degree, and there is a statistic that says only 3% of foster youth will receive their actual bachelor's degree. Less than 10% receives any type of degree, so an associate's or certificate of some sort. So you've already defied the odds in receiving your bachelor's degree. How did you come about, or what made you want to go to college and start that process? And what was your bachelor's degree in?
okay. So, I, like some people, you will see what happens to your family and you will strive like hell to either try to be like them or do the total opposite.
Okay.
And so I knew, just unfortunately, was very, very close. I knew at the age of 4 what marijuana was, what crack cocaine was. I
Mm-hmm.
had family members that smoked it, sold it while I was, in the next room or walked into the room. So unfortunately, I saw what that was, did to people. And I was like, I don't want to be um, a product of that. I didn't want to have, and not to speak negatively, but just listing facts, I didn't want to have a lot of different kids by a bunch of different men. Because I believe it is 10 of us. I'm the third oldest, and my mother does have 10 different men as the father of her children. And so that is one of the many things that crossed my mind throughout school. I actually got to do things such as this while I was in care. I was on, it may be called something different, but I was on the youth advisory board, and it is it was a board where foster youth would go to the Lake of the Ozarks, and they would plan for like a couple of months a big youth conference. And every summer, children from all of the state of Missouri would go up to the lake, and the foster youth who were on the board, such as myself, we actually hosted the different seminars.
Okay.
So when I look in hindsight, I actually was doing what I went to school for, which was psychology, social work. I was doing that then, but I didn't realize that. And I know I always wanted to do something with children, and I just like, I guess naturally had that in me. I also, one of my first major jobs with social work was working for a company called Foster Adopt Connect. And my former boss, he's actually created a program such as yourself, Greater Than Expectations, where he was a former foster youth. He was actually adopted. And he wanted to create a program where other youth who were in care, who transitioned out successfully and had things to occur in their life successfully, actually was helping those youth who were still in care, getting ready to be transitioned out. And so what some of my duties was to, for example, meet with a child that was a young adult, because they were between the ages of 17 and 26, I think. They were either getting ready to be released or going to remain in care until they aged out. It was 21 when I was in care. I think now it's 23. And so we would come up with a plan of different things that they wanted to do. If there are things that they haven't accomplished, like getting a state ID, a driver's license, finishing high school to get their diploma, or go back and get a GED. Those were some of the things that I literally would sit with them, me and my other coworkers, and help them walk that out. We would come up with goals and different steps, action plans is what my supervisor called it, to follow up with them to make sure they completed those tasks. And I mean, I one time drove all the way to Olathe to take a young girl a bag full of baby supplies because she just had a baby and didn't have anything.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So I see the sign behind you says invest in yourself. And it sounded like at a young age, you were already investing in yourself, right? Like taking advantage of leadership opportunities. And sometimes we're too shy to do that, or my friend's not doing it, so I don't want to do it. And then look at the pathway that has been laid out. You are investing in yourself at a young age, and then taking a career into that field is just amazing. And a little birdie told me that you were also in were you in the Upward Bound program?
Yes, I was just about to mention that, with the lovely Crystal Ward. And she didn't play, y'all. She was on us about, sticking to our studies and not messing around. I mean, she was fun, but she was a great RA as well. But yes, Upward Bound really did ignite that fire, because I had never knew of a program such as that. And it's funny, I know when we were still in school, Brian, who was one of the original leaders of that program, would come and have this basic, not interview, but just presentation to the freshmen. And I wasn't going to go. And I'm so glad I did. And I loved going to that program every year. I love the experience of being able to visit different colleges. I remember I helped write a grant for the Kauffman Foundation. I mean, so many different opportunities. And that really did push me to stay on the course and stay on task with graduating high school with really good grades and entering into college, and everything that goes along with it, like searching for scholarships and getting your FAFSA done and all that stuff. So, yeah.
So for those who are tuning in or watching on the playback, if you don't know, Upward Bound is a national trio program that assists first generation college students like myself and LeChelle in making sure that they get to that end goal of graduating from college. And they assist with tutoring. You take classes in advance. They will pay for a few of your college courses. And so you're able to surround yourself with like-minded people, and then have mentors such as those as Brian, Kennedy, Susan, Amy, and Lovey, people who poured into us as Upward Bound students. Now, the crazy thing is, although I've known LeChelle for a long period of time, I did not know that when we were in Upward Bound together, or when I was an advisor at Upward Bound, that she was even Foster alum. I didn't realize that until recent years, and that's okay, right? Like, it's, some people are willing to share their story. It's a lot for people to come on this platform and share their story, and so I just thank you for being willing to come on and talk about your success. So you were able to go into college, and then you had all these programs where you're now able to invest, and I know that you have recently, or you currently work with the elderly. So you've worked with youth, and now you've transitioned to working with those that are older. What made you want to transition into working with our elderly population?
Yeah, so actually, I was just thinking yesterday. It's funny how, and I'm a big person of faith, so you may hear me use religious verbiage, but it's interesting how God will bring you full circle in certain things, because as I was a senior in high school, I initially wanted to go to school to be a pediatrician. I didn't know my senior year what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to work with children. And so I attended this career VOTEC program that my high school, Grandview High School, partnered with, called Herndon Career Center, and I got my CNA license. So I actually, from 2000, I want to say 2004 till 2015, I have worked in different senior living communities with senior citizens, such as assisted living, independent living, long-term care. I've done home health. And I actually have a personal experience myself. My biological mother, had a stroke 2 years ago, and it was in the brainstem. And the doctors aren't really sure if it was because of all the years of drug usage. She did have some drugs in her system when she had the stroke, but yeah, it caused her to basically flatline. And she was in Research Medical Center for 3 months before family knew that she was even in there. And just God worked the thing out. Long story short, a nurse was able to track down one of my mother's brothers, and word got to all of her children. And so by the time we found out, the state of Missouri had started process of becoming her legal guardian, because they couldn't find family. And my mother had a protective order out. So the police do not put people's photos on the news when they have a protective order for their safety. So I actually stepped up and became my mother's legal guardian. So
that's another full circle moment, right?
Yes, it is. I actually, for those who don't know, I do have a 9-year-old son. So I have been someone's legal guardian for 9 years, but took that role on as well. And to directly answer your question, Crystal, last year, like a lot of us, I was laid off from a job. And so that was in March. I didn't start looking for work until July, and end up finding my job that I work for now. It's called Senior View. And that one of the requirements was for individuals to have caregiver experience, experience in social work, psychology. I did go to school, and I'm sorry if I'm all over the place. I majored in psychology. I went initially to the University of Missouri, St. Louis. And because a lot of college students go through this, ended up back in Kansas City and graduated from UMKC. And they didn't want to take a lot of my psych credits, and I was not about to pay for all that again. So just to graduate, I ended up getting a technical degree in liberal arts, but most 90% of my courses are social work, sociology, and psychology. So that's how I ended up at the job I'm at now. I work actually technically as a contact care advisor. So people will call in and be looking for different communities they're interested in, to get connected to those communities. And I just go through the different things that they are looking for and assist them with getting connected to that community, so that they can go to the next step of, if it's a family member, helping that loved one get moved into that seniors living community or themselves. So yeah, that's what I do.
We have a comment. LaFonda is saying, same girl, same, Mizzou to UMKC. You know, college students, they change their major 3 times on average. People change schools. So there's nothing wrong with that. The bottom line is you finished. And
Yes.
only did you finish, most people who have not been a part of the system don't finish. That's one. Then 2, you've been a part of the system and only 3%. So it doesn't matter how you did it, whether you had to change your major to get on out of there. You graduated. Thank you, Lordy.
Amen. You ain't never lied. And that was such a big accomplishment because I was the first out of my siblings to get a college degree, the first in my family that I know of.
Yeah.
So I'm all about breaking generational curses, and I wanted to break that.
Awesome. So let's talk really quickly. So you said, and I heard you say earlier, I think you said there's 7 to 9 of us, or there was like an estimate, as if you may not know all of your siblings, which of course that may be the case being a part of the system. Do you talk to any of your siblings? The power of forgiveness, or, you know, reuniting with your mom, your biological mom, to then take care of her. Tell us about that journey.
Yeah, so at the time, I believe it was about 7 of us when we were placed in care. And this is still a major rule to this day. So my grandmother actually, when my mother was picked up by the police for the very bad incident that occurred with one of my younger siblings, you get a court date for the judge to decide the next step. So my grandmother brought us to court that day. And at the time, a lot of my aunts and uncles were still like probably between 9 and 18 themselves. And my grandmother, she lived in, I think, maybe a 3 or 4 bedroom home with way too many children. So if you don't have the adequate space, then those children cannot remain with you. And that's what happened with us. At the time, we all ended up in shelters. Some of us ended up in group homes, where there were open beds. And now there is about 10 of us. My mother did get released out of prison after 15 years initially, years ago, but like a lot of people who are coming out of prison, they do recidivize. And she broke, not broke, but she failed on her probation a couple times. So she went back 2 different times and had 2 children each time she came out. But I actually do speak with all of my siblings except the one who my mother went to prison for, because he was adopted. The incident that occurred caused a healthy baby to become blind and handicapped.
I hear you.
It was a closed adoption, so we never got to ever try to track him down. And that's one of my many dreams, is to find my brother before I die. Because it's just, that was horrible as a little girl to be ripped of a sibling and never ever get to see him again.
Yeah. Those are the things that, people don't talk about, even especially when it's siblings, right? Like the fact that you all were split up in different places. And I know now they try to keep people together, but when there's so many, that's really difficult because most people are not taking in 9 kids. But like you said, the long term, you've been able to connect with some of your siblings, but that one. And so we hope that happens for you. We're going to believe that will happen for you one day. I think you were trying to mention something.
I was just going to say that, so all of my siblings, and there actually is another one who was adopted. She's the baby of all of us. She lives in Texas. We actually all talk, but to just be bluntly honest, when children don't grow up in the same home, the dynamic is different. So you have a natural bond of connection, but it's still not like the same as growing up in the same home with the same parent. Every child is going to grow up and turn out differently, but it's just that bond. We don't all have that bond like we probably could have, and that's just because we all were brought up. Some of my siblings were institutionalized, which I can go on a different tangent about children who grow up in group homes, not group homes, but residential homes. It really does something to the child because they like to overly medicate the children.
Mm.
But yeah, that is a factor. And then just working in the social work field, I learned a lot about what's called secondary trauma.
Yeah.
And a lot of us experience that. So I see some of the things in my siblings, they still have trauma that they need to heal from, but we all still do connect and stay in touch. When you asked me about how was it to become the guardian of my mother, I had a come to Jesus moment because I was like, Lord, how did this happen? My mother never took care of me. How did I end up being the one to take care of her? But I mean, you know, his ways are not our ways. And I couldn't sleep and live with myself knowing that the state had the option, if I decided to walk away from it, to make the decisions for my mother. And I didn't want, her living somewhere in Missouri that nobody could ever be
Yeah.
able to go and find out, because the state would be able to have that legal,
Well,
op-
and that's a part of like healing, right? Is letting go of some of that. I talk about the power of forgiveness, and I had to be taught that as well. So, it's a part of the process into you becoming whole. Like you said, dealing with some of your own trauma and knowing I don't have to do anything, but I am.
right.
And there's a power in that. We had a comment earlier that said, did you have any foster siblings? So you went to a foster home. Did you have foster siblings? Do you have a relationship with them? Or are you guys friends? Or is it kind of like, as I aged out, we kind of did our own thing? How was that experience?
Yeah, so the group home, well, they were licensed. Foster parents can become licensed as a group home, or just to have one or two children. And the people I lived with got licensed as a group home. So a lot of different children came in and out of that home. I am Facebook friends with a few of them, still connect with some of them, but not like, we don't have that tight bond relationship.
Right.
But
There's nothing wrong with that. No, there's nothing wrong with your answers. Your experience is your experience, right? So awesome. So let's get into some more of how you've overcome the odds or defy the odds, because we only have a few more minutes left. So I know that you have some things up your sleeve. Tell us what's in the future for LeChelle. What's going on? We know you have your son.
yeah.
And he's doing well. What else is going on? What do you foresee for yourself within the next 2 to 5 years? Or
Yeah, I see myself operating as a speaker and entrepreneur full time as a life coach. I have recently become certified as a life coach under uh, Mr. Tony Gaskins. He has been doing life coaching for 20 plus years. And I actually didn't realize that all this time of working in the field of social work for over 7 to 8 years now, that I was actually doing life coaching, because I've worked with low income families, I've worked with young children, I've worked with actually families who were very close to having their children put in the foster care system. And every job, it doesn't matter which agency I work for, the thing was, okay, let's come up with a goal and let's see what steps we need to take to accomplish that goal. So I actually have been doing that, and I naturally just I can be going through some crazy stuff that people have no idea of, but I love to help people, and I love to see people who are in something really bad just bloom into something positive. So I do have a life coaching business that I am going to be launching next month. It's called She's a Go Getter. And if you would like to connect with me, you can follow me on Facebook, just to keep up with everything that will be getting released next month. You also can, if you are interested in becoming a client, I am going to be offering some free sessions prior to launching my business. You can reach out by sending me an email at Simpson LeChelle6@gmail.com.
And so we have your info going across the bottom, and that is the actual spelling. She is short for the shell and LeChelle. So go ahead, and is the Facebook page already ready to go with the information?
Unfortunately, no, because there are some other things that I'm trying to get accomplished. And so that's why when I do launch everything next month, everything will be accessible. There will be a business page on Facebook, Instagram. There's also going to be a YouTube page that will be on operating as well. And if you are wanting to connect with me to do some sessions, I will have a website that you will be able to book a session through so that we can get that going.
All
And
right. Go ahead.
I was just going to say some of the things that I will be coaching in will be things like personal development, single mothers, budgeting, and business.
Awesome. So you all heard it here first. Shh. She's put the info out there. You know how to get a hold of her. Watch this back on the playback. Support our foster alum, right? Like, 1, support small business. 2, support small Black-owned business. 3, support small foster alum Black-owned entrepreneurs. Let's do it, right? Like, we have to support our youth because there are so many foster youth who didn't have it this way, didn't see at a young age, like, okay, my life could be this way, but I'm gonna choose this. You know, they may not have had someone that poured into them or just the grit to just overcome various different things. And so to go from defying the odds and getting that bachelor's degree to now helping the youth, to helping to the elderly, to then saying, you know what, I want a little bit more and I'm going to add to my resume. I'm going to become an entrepreneur and I'm going to speak life into other people. I am just so proud of you. If anybody knows me, they know I brag on Upward Bound because it's life changing. For those of us who had that opportunity, it's life changing. And so I know that our former directors are going to watch this on the playback if they're not watching now. And so shout out to all of them. And we thank you for being a part of our lives, but I'm just so proud of you and the things that you have been able to do and become. And you are such a positive person. You see all the words of affirmation behind you, and you live and you breathe this. And so programs, as we brag on Upward Bound, and like you said, you are part of a youth program that developed foster youth. That is exactly what we are trying to do at Greater Than Expectations. We are trying to pour specifically into foster teens and that are alum to make sure that they too can end up on someone's show, can have the career that they want for themselves so that they too can defy the odds. So I am just so grateful for you joining with us this evening. Do you have any final words that you want to say to the audience? Or if I could talk to young LeChelle, here's something additional I would say, or future LeChelle, what would you say?
Yes, I would just say that through the process of growing up in the foster care system and just as a young adult, it is so good to, at a point in your life, to heal, to break the trauma bonding that you have connected with individuals. To be a little transparent, I was in a lot of toxic relationships because I had mama and daddy, more daddy issues than mommy issues. And in order for you to break those generational curses, you have to heal within. You can't, try to put a Band-Aid on something and think that you're going to be able to move forward, because it will manifest itself, whether it is at work, family, relationship, or even in your business. You have to learn. I had to learn how to, not everything warrants a response. I may feel like because of the things that I went through, the spirit of rejection, that I had always had to prove and show people they're not going to walk all over me. But you actually speak more when you're silent than when you're using words. So, and even if you do fall, my goal was to get married before having children. I ended up having a child out of wedlock, but that does not stop me. I'm actually helping my son to create a business. I would love for him to go to college, but if he doesn't want to, that's okay, because I believe, and I always tell people, before you leave this earth, make sure you pour into yourself and your dreams just as hard as you are for someone else when you're working at 9 to 5 every day. So no regrets. And that's what I would say. And I thank you, and Tiana Crystal, for having me. And if there's anyone watching and would love to book a speaking engagement, definitely feel free to reach out to me through Simpson, LeChelle6@gmail.com. Or if you are interested in booking a life coaching session, even though I have not launched it officially, you definitely could connect with me so that we can get each other next month.
LeChelle, go ahead and repeat that again. You said it's Simpson.
Yeah, so my last name, first name, all lowercase letters, Simpson, LeChelle, the number 6 at gmail.com.
I'm going to put it into the chat so people can follow it back. I hear the audience saying that's a word today. You just preached a whole sermon, right? And those who know me know that I like to, I get my point across. And so, but you're right. You don't have to always prove anything. Prove by what you're doing. Keep on moving and keep on pushing. So thank you so much. As we wrap up, I do want to remind those that our scholarship, the Greater Than Expectations, Ariel Rideau, who is a Foster alum, Defying the Odds scholarship, is available. We are winding down. We have several applicants, and we are going to be so excited to bless some high school senior who also wants to defy the odds. This scholarship is open to those that are going to a four-year university, community college, trade school, because as you said, college is not necessarily for everybody, but we do want to push our youth to do something post-secondary. And so I had to do the shameless plug, but I also just thank you for being who you are. Thank you for defying the odds. Thanks those for who are tuning in. Like this, share this. This is on our YouTube page. This is on our Facebook page. We appreciate each and every single one of you who come back and watch on the playback. Thank you for joining us tonight for Defying the Odds. Thank you so much, LeChelle.
Thank you.